Oh, well then what the hell are you looking at?
You guys. I'm
Us.
staring at my screen.
We're looking at you. We're looking at your screen. I don't understand this. Terry, do you have any idea what she's talking about?
I don't.
So I tell you another story about a cockroach, but I didn't find one boiling on my coffee this time, and I did check. So Halloween may be coming and almost here, but evidently the cockroaches have not figured out that it's time to play trick or treat with me. So
they just aren't in your coffee this time. They're in your earphone case right there. Just look one up.
Is that what's crawling in my ear? I thought that was my hearing aid. Oh, wow.
When you thought you stuck your hearing aid in your ear, it was actually the front end of the cockroach, and it's just wiggling around in there right now.
Well, this is the podcast episode for that kind of nonsense and shenanigans. Can we call that nonsense and shenanigans? I don't know if we can or not. Would that be considered it?
Creeped out everybody who is currently listening to us right now, or like when this gets posted, and who has their earbuds in, and they're going to feel like some tickle, and they're like, "Oh,
ooh, is that earwax dropping off, or is that an earwig crawling inside my brain?"
Scratches, deep
these little tiny scratches and scritches. Can't you feel them right now? Can't you feel that itch at the base of your brain where it's actually gone through the cochlea and it's just kind of crawling down inside your skull? Can you feel that?
What was the name of those creatures from Star Trek? The little mind.
I know the ones you're talking about, but I don't remember what they called them.
I don't either.
Rick is basically having a reaction to this.
I'm so glad. Hopefully I'll have a reaction to this. Howdy, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Dead Robot Society. I am Paul E. Cooley. Joining me today, my wonderful co-hosts. Actually, I mean my evil and vile co-hosts, Veronica Jaguar and Terry Mixon. And how vile are we today? Wow, don't all talk at once, you corpses. Come on.
To suck your intellect.
Oh, this is the wrong show for that. Have you met our listeners?
Holy crap, you're going to starve.
Yep, everybody's unsubscribing. We're canceled. Suddenly returning all audiobooks and ebooks and everything else. They're quite vile.
The first show after the new Facebook group and all the promo and stuff. And good night, folks.
Look at J.R. Handley over there making the whole brown coat forever thing in there.
What is he babbling about? Oh, it's in relation to the Star Trek comment.
It's a Firefly comment, but I mean...
How do you know that The Mandalorian was a better space western than Firefly? Season 2.
No, actually, that's not true.
Words right there.
It had the benefit of having Disney behind it as opposed to Fox, which is...
Wait a minute, Disney, you mean the place that just basically screws up every single thing they touch?
Obviously not, if you like The Mandalorian.
There are exceptions. But they are few and far between with the Disney products.
But I mean, let's be fair. They did get, Pedro Pascal and a killer role, so clearly something was done right.
Oh, I guess I better talk about this. Jared says I saw Paul back on Facebook. What happened to the real Paul? Who is this on the Zuck book? If you'll notice, Paul is only leaving comments on DRS and on his page. That's it. I will not be following you. I will not be returning your follows. I will probably not even talk to you on Messenger. If you want to do that, you can join Discord and find me on email and Mastodon, but that's all I'm going to do. So I'm still of the fuck Facebook, and I have an ad blocker and use it and track any tracking blockers, and so should you. That's my privacy rant for the moment.
Because we created a brand new public Facebook group, and we're hoping to grow that. Paul has been kicking, screaming, and moaning like I wouldn't have you even try to believe that he's being dragged back on Facebook just to be part of that.
So, yeah, Terry convinced me, so I decided I will do this on a trial basis.
If you are not on the new Facebook group, you should go check it out.
Yeah, you should. But before we talk about that, we should find out what the fuck Veronica's been up to.
I've been getting
bowling!
And bowling, yeah. But bowling season is over.
Yay!
only because my kid did. They literally did as well as they could without being able to go to states. And while that's frustrating,
Continue.
well, that's frustrating. It means I have a week where I can actually get work done before Vegas, and for that I am very thankful. Let's see what else. My younger son has his driver's license now.
If you don't like the way he drives, stay off the sidewalk.
Stay out of your living room.
But he to be fair, because he is my favorite middle child. He's my only middle child, but he's my favorite middle child. He has had a part-time job for 2 years, and so we were able to split the down payment on the car, and he is able to assume all of the monthly payments. And so that means I literally get 8 to 10 extra hours a week. I am so excited because I don't have to drive.
The mom taxi is closed.
Oh no, the youngest child requires the mom taxi.
The youngest child goes to the same school, and the theater show is over this weekend. So, yeah, that's how that's going to work.
You want the car?
Here's your bus pass. Get busy.
It should be a lot easier to get to and from, and to make a little more time to get recording done and to get more writing done. I am halfway, okay, maybe more like 30% through typing up the final outline, and I'm of my space western, and I keep finding notes. So evidently I had a shadowy third version of the outline that I didn't reference when I was writing the fourth one, and it was stuck in Scrivener in another folder all the way down. But it's pretty similar to the second iteration. So I get to type up the fourth one and check and see what my brain changed in between. It's not too bad, but I maintain that the good ideas generally stick, and if you can't remember something that you wrote, it probably sucked anyway. So,
Paul?
Yes.
Could you dial back your gain a bit, because we're getting lots of your breathing and other noises going along with that.
Yes, Terry cannot deal with your heavy breathing, Paul.
I can't.
No, it wasn't where it
It's
was.
getting me all hot and bothered, and I just don't know what to do about that. So
It may just be the fact that I can't breathe. That could be it. My apologies. So it sounds like you're having a lot of fun then, V.
I am dealing with scheduling changes, but all will be well. So it's things are improving, and I get to prep to go to 20 Books Vegas next week. So yay! Because Terry will be there, right?
I will.
He certainly has been threatening to do that.
To take over Vegas.
Yeah, take her to Vegas, meet you in Vegas. He might even deign to have dinner with you. You might even be important enough on his book.
It could happen. I could pencil you in.
He's a busy guy.
Do I get bonus points if I bring the Mighty Ginger?
That's definitely worth bonus points right there.
Yes. All right.
What about you, Terry? What are you doing?
I have got a lot of balls up in the air juggling around. I finished writing the last Hunter book that I was working on last weekend, and I just got it back yesterday night late to do the editorial comments on it before it goes off to the beta readers. There may have been, some not quite fully thought out timeline for the release date on that, because it comes out a week from tomorrow. That means the beta readers will have like 2 or 3 days to look at it, as opposed to like a week and more, which explains why when I was about 2 weeks away from wrapping up writing on it, they moved the due date a week forward.
Nice.
Which of course I could not meet because they moved the due date a week forward with 2 weeks notice.
Lovely.
Luckily, the editor says that my stuff is among the cleanest she ever gets, and so she was able to get it turned around in a hurry. And well, it's going to be short on beta reader time, but it's going to be ready today to go out to the beta readers.
Your editor actually reads your work?
Apparently so.
Wow.
She at least reads it enough to go, these words are repetitive. Maybe she's got an algorithm. Maybe she uses AI to go in there and say these words are repetitive.
Oh God.
She might, but I don't know.
I was wondering if you were going to make the segue right there.
I will get to that, but first, I was hoping this weekend to get the base writing done on Empire Reborn, so that I would be done with the writing part of that. That's not going to happen, but it'll still get done before I go to Vegas, and I don't know that I will ever do that particular nonsense again of trying to write it at the same time I'm writing something else. What a huge pain in the ass that's been, trying to write a chapter a week. What did I do last week? I have no idea. What happened 4 chapters ago? There were 4 chapters ago? I have no idea.
Yeah, if you're gonna tackle a project like that where you're only writing a chapter once a week, it does not lend itself well to pantsers.
Oh, yeah, we can argue about that.
But speaking of AI, since we were talking about that, well, I'll come back to AI. We would need to hear what Paul's been up to.
Oh God, getting ready for another frickin' launch. Got the Arrival files. So getting ready to launch the Black Arrival podcast. So book 2 of the Black is going to start up on Halloween on YouTube and the podcast, which I think people have been looking forward to. In conjunction with that, I have a 99-cent sale going on for the Black at Amazon.com for the ebook, and the audiobook is currently at Kobo for $7.99. That was a deal Fireside set up, so if you want to support the podcast, go buy a book, please. But then things get more screwed up because I set up this sale like 2 weeks ago. And then I get this email from Amazon saying, you've been chosen for this special promotion thingy that we're going to hawk you on starting on the 4th. So they're going to discount my book again a week after it's already been on sale. I got nothing. So I don't know how well that's going to work, but if it ends up being on the front page, that'll be kind of cool because I could certainly use the cash. But that's the first time I'd seen that. They had sent me several, and I'm sure folks have seen this before. You get like a come on saying you can sign up to be in this program or whatever, and they may promote your book or whatnot. Just choose one of your books is basically what it was, if I remember correctly. You could only nominate one. So people do get chosen. I guess I'm proof of that. You'll be paying folks to read it.
It's not actually how that works. They still pay him based on the original price. They're putting it on sale. They're not penalizing him for doing it.
Thankfully.
A humble brag from both of us, because, I'm better than everybody else. Paul's cheaper than everybody. Wait a minute, Brett. What is V's humble brag then? I think I need to know.
Hang on, before she answers.
I'm not going to answer. I'm going to leave it to Brett's imagination.
I can be bought, but I'm not cheap. Come on.
You can take that up with Brett later.
Oh, come on.
If you're asking for extra tips from Brett after it's all over, it's too late then, buddy.
I'm glad I did not the one that said any of that. Rickshaw says Paul is a member of the Chosen. What Chosen? Which Chosen is this? What Chosen?
Not chosen?
V's humble brag because she's bringing the red dress.
Yep.
Ah! The Chosen. So you had something to say about AI?
Yeah, have you heard the news that there's going to be a newly released song from the Beatles?
I did.
And I realized, maybe sitting there going, gosh, it seems like they're not all around to produce that song. And you're absolutely right. What it was a song that was written way back when.
By John Lennon.
By John Lennon, that never got produced. He did a demo tape of it where he's playing the piano and singing the lyrics. And then George Harrison, back in the 90s, I guess, played the music for it. His set of the music for it for some other project, or maybe for the hope that this would eventually get done. And Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr did their business for it as well just recently. And they claim they used AI on the mixtape that Lennon had did to take the piano music out of it once the technology grew large enough so that they could have his voice without the piano music, because it was a mono tape. They didn't have separate tracks, and they had to have a way of getting that music out of there. And once they used what they called AI to strip out the piano, they were able to mix it up, and that's going to be coming out relatively soon.
I call bullshit on the term AI. That's what you're actually supposed to use ML for.
I'm actually not sure what it is, but I don't think that it's meant in the same way that we are referring to it here.
No. It's basically it was a filter. It's just like Jesus Christ, I'm losing my mind. I was suggested to me that I get a noise gate and a compressor. The red dress will be worn by Terry at the very party. You know what? I don't want pictures of that. Basically, it's working like a filter where you're taking, instead of setting a noise threshold, you're basically saying, maybe that's what it is. If you compare where John Lennon's voice is, vocals, and then you set everything to filter out anything that's not in that range. And then anything.
So it's an adaptive.
Yeah, adaptive filter, very adaptive filter. So that's machine learning. I wouldn't call that AI. That is one decent use of it, I guess. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Well, we're not here to talk about machine learning.
No.
We're not here to talk about Terry's undies either.
Hey, you got to watch those undies lines when you're wearing the red dress.
Right. So, this goes into today's subject, which is horror, quite honestly. Horror and suspense. And Terry in his underwear pretty much does that. I want to read something just to make sure we're on the same page here. Definition of horror: an intense, painful feeling of repugnance and fear. A state or condition marked by this feeling. An intense dislike or abhorrence. Now.
Okay. So basically, every time we see Paul, that's the feeling we get.
I was waiting for you to try and make some kind of comment like that, but I expected it to be when I was actually reading. So, definition of suspense: the quality in a work of narrative art, such as novel or film, that causes the audience to experience pleasurable excitement and anticipation regarding an outcome. So, these two are interlinked for me. Terry will argue all day long because he has a different version of horror, but I think if you take the definition of horror, it's not too hard to mix it with suspense. It's also not really difficult for suspense to become horror in a lot of ways. But beside that, I have a question for you two. We'll start with V. What is your favorite horror movie, novel, whatever?
Okay. I'm going to wind
up. It
up.
better not have Charlie Brown in it, or I'm stopping this show. And you can get off. Shut up, Terry. Nobody's talking to you.
So, I don't read a lot of horror. I haven't read a lot. But the thing is, okay, let me walk that back. I have narrated enough horror because the quality of my voice is really good for it. I can lull you into a false state of security and then scare the shit out of you. It's true. You paid me to do it. But I watch some, but I physically can't deal with too much input. So a lot of stuff that is visually horrifying, I will listen, but I literally am the person who will sit and watch some of those TV shows and movies with my hands over my eyes. I'm not kidding. There's some of the favorites that have been tossed around by others in terms of movies, like Event Horizon or The Ring. Those give me nightmares.
Yes,
Literally.
they're designed to. That's the whole
designed to,
point.
But that's not fun for me. But if I can have that really visceral emotional reaction, and then later on sit back and go, that was, you can kind of like dissociate and go and analyze the story for what it was. I would say my favorite is actually Jessica Jones.
For suspense?
No, for psychological horror. And you have to understand your audience. Horror, because horror plays on emotion, one person's suspense is another person's horror. Some people, like, will Julius or will he not smother Terry?
Right now, I'm hoping for it.
For those of us who enjoy cats and
Beyond the pale cat,
and who think that Julius is marvelous, and we know that Terry loves cats, that is suspense. Will he? Is he going to get there? But what if Julius was this, venomous vampire cat that the minute he got on top of, Terry's chest, he was going to sink his teeth into Terry's neck and suck out his soul and turn him into, the vassal of the felines. That would be horror. Because, oh no, we've lost Terry. But for some people, that would still be suspense. But I'm just saying, for going back to Jessica Jones, it's one of the few things that I watched, and literally as I was watching, and even while I was reading it, the villain and the situations that the protagonist gets put in, I am so invested and so immersed. I am literally like pulling myself back into the couch going, I should turn this off. I should turn this off. But I kept watching. And, some of that is because David Tennant is a phenomenal actor. And I love his work, but I hated The Purple Man because, bastard. So,
Terry?
That's mine.
Okay.
That brings up a question,
Oh,
what is
here we
horror?
go. Here we go.
No, really, seriously. What is horror and what is suspense? The two are closely related, but the movie I'm thinking of, maybe horror, maybe suspense.
If it's the one I think you're thinking of, and I know it's the one I think you're thinking of, that I think you're thinking of, because it's the think that I would think. Go ahead and say it.
Thank you for thinking that.
I would say it's both. But continue.
And I'm talking about The Thing from John Carpenter, because I'm not a big fan of horror movies to begin with, and that's one that I've watched a couple of times that was not something that triggered me to the point to where I just didn't want to watch it. I grew up in the time frame where horror was equated with blood and spatter and
Jason and Halloween.
Yeah, all of that stuff. So I couldn't stand it. I had no desire. Now, as an aside, my friends back in the 90s dragged me to see Army of Darkness, expecting this to be a horror movie. And it turned out to be a comedy, and I had a great time where I didn't think I was going to, and they all had a horrible time, and so that worked out in my favor. Come get some.
That movie made me lose brain cells.
Oh yeah, it's designed to. Pretty much anything with him in it. I love Bruce Campbell, but yeah, just being around his dialogue is enough to drain brain cells from your body. It's okay though.
Shop
we all enjoy
smart.
it.
Shop S-Mart.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the comment here. I missed it because things were scrolling. You guys are chatty today.
Mm-hmm.
Very chatty.
But yeah, The Thing is a great movie for me in that genre because while it has horrific elements, it is mostly a suspense. Will he, won't he? Will he survive? Will he, won't he survive? Is the monster going to get away?
Who's
Who is
next?
the monster?
Who's next?
Exactly.
Who's going to disappear
Yeah.
next?
Yeah, you're intrigued. I think it reminded me of another movie that I remember watching and being kind of on the edge, going, I'm scared, but I'll keep sitting here. Was Dreamweaver? Was that it called? Stephen King. The kids, they kept looking through the keyhole, finding stuff that was stuck in the room.
I have no
look that
idea.
up.
That's one I'm not familiar with.
It's so, I married someone who absolutely loves horror, and like I think for like our second or third Christmas, I got him the director's cut of Saw, and it was, here, have fun. I'm not seeing this with you. Because that's just, sometimes that's just how you roll. I mean, on that same thing, you could argue that like Little Shop of Horrors.
It has Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd is
that is horror comedy.
example.
That's horror comedy.
It is, and it's brilliant. Oh, it's so good.
William says a lot of sci-fi has horror as an important component. Yes, it abso-fucking-lutely does. In fact, I would say that even something as mundane as Star Trek, and don't take that when I say that mundane as an insult, something that is not meant to be horrific has a lot of horrific moments in it. Like the little thingies that take over Spock and all sorts of things like that back in the original one. The shit that happens in War of the Worlds in the original H.G. Wells, that has all of that. So all that sci-fi has got those pieces.
Well, let me run a Star Trek original series horror past you that may not be what you're expecting. I forget the name of the episode, but it's the one that had the Horta in it.
Had the what?
The Horta. The silicon being that was killing miners.
Oh, right. Right, the
And
hive.
It was not a hive, but yeah, they were finding metallic nodules and mining those, and this monster was coming out of the dark and killing them. And so Enterprise showed back up to go ahead and take that out, and they find out that the miners have been killing the children of this thing. And so there's your element of horror right there. Not only are people being killed, but another sentient being is having its children just killed on and on and on by these humans. So if you look at it from either side, there are elements of horror there.
Right. Yeah.
And that episode was The Devil in the Dark.
Okay.
Devil in the Dark. Okay. I'll have to remember that one. I think if you go back and you start looking at a lot of sci-fi, you will find horrors all through it. It may not be the main component, but it is there. I mean, anytime you have aliens that aren't humanoid, you're going to have a moment of repugnance. You're going to have a moment of disquiet. And if they are humanoid, then the uncanny enters in. And those are all elements of that too. It's what shocks you, is what you don't expect to see. It's what you don't expect the character to see. And that's what I love about writing it, is I want to give the audience enough clues where they really are concerned that this dumbass main character is going to do something dumbassness, or that they know what's in the house and the main character doesn't.
There's another Twilight episode, I think it's a Twilight Zone episode, where the whole theme was how best to serve man. You remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's you think that it's mostly human looking, but they're actually taking people back to their planet so that they can cook them and eat them.
As opposed to the Simpsons episode where they just want to cook for them. But the Simpsons think they want to eat them. We serve, man. Kirk still ends up kissing them. I didn't saw that.
Well, I think that Kirk would kiss it because, well, Kirk really can't stop himself. It's like Bones
Kirk's a slut, man. What is it with you?
Kelly going, What is it with you anyway?
That was my favorite. That's what, movie 6, right? That's The Undiscovered Country.
I forget, but it's been coming for a long time.
Oh, it was perfect. That was the shapeshifter, because the next time they saw her, she did not look like that. She looked like a Yeti. Congratulations, you fucked a Yeti. I hope you enjoyed that.
Kirk was probably like, let me write that down.
No, he's probably like, yeah, been there,
One
done
more
that.
off the bucket list.
Jesus Christ. Any man with that terrible toupee that gets that much play. He must be able to lick his eyebrows. Anyway, yes, I did drop that bomb. I think sci-fi is an excellent point of view on that, of how horror can fit together and be an integral part. And to be honest, so can fantasy, even sword and sorcery. Look at how nasty it gets. Some of these battles can get where they're describing everything. That's gore. That's horror. That's the horrificness of feeling somebody do something awful to your body and you being able to empathize with it. And if a writer is really skillful at what they're doing, you do. You get that itch at the base of your skull. You get that itch at your back. You start wondering if somebody's behind you. And it doesn't have to be horror to get that. It's just, those are the things that you can do with the character by setting out the plot properly and then fleshing out the boundaries of what they know and what the audience knows. And then making sure the peril is all over there. So those are my 2 cents. But I love The Thing for a different reason.
Oh, what's that?
Actually, I love the Thing for all the reasons, but the ending.
Mm-hmm.
What I love most about The Thing is the ending.
You don't know who the monster may be, if anyone.
God damn it, I know for sure.
That's
I
what
do.
you say.
Well, yeah, because if you go back to the ending scenes, Childs is not, his breath isn't vaping. McCrady's is. You know what I'm thinking? You know what I'm saying? When it was their breath isn't condensing. However you want to call it. Childs is not doing that. Hi, Nathan. So that's what I love about that it doesn't have that completion, which is another part of the horror that's behind it, is the fact that there is no completion to it. There's not necessarily a conclusion that satisfies that part of you that says, what if that really happened? Are we all dead? Yeah, spoiler alert, we're all fucked. But as John Carpenter said in his interview, we would be totally boned. It's just that Childs is just that damn cool. He's kind of a cool kid.
If you don't have a conclusive ending, then you're continuing that horror thing, that disquieting, so that when, if you're watching it in a movie theater or you're sitting at home and the lights come up, or you start to see the credits, or you're reading it and you're on the last page and that's it. I don't feel so good about this, but there's no more to make me feel better. And then you have to deal with that.
It's also with the way Silence of the Lambs ends, right? The book. Mm-hmm. I guess even the movie. He's out there. He's writing fucking letters. He's out there. He escaped. And that's the disquiet of it, is that person could be your next door neighbor. It could be that person who happens to be following you from the mall. It could be the person who honked at you because you didn't use your turn signal to take a left, and they're following behind you, just waiting for you to stop so they can beat the shit out of you. It's all of that. For some reason, I like exploring that.
There was a book series written by Catherine Kurtz called The Adept, and it was set in England. And it had a lot of mysticism and magical power buried underneath the scenes of the real world that were going on there. And they had enemies that the enemy lodges that were evil and tried to do evil things. And in one of the books they had, there was call it a bad Tibetan monk, an evil Tibetan monk that during World War II arranged for the deaths of the crew of a Nazi submarine after they stashed the sub somewhere. And as part of this book, when the heroes are trying to undo the things that have been going on, the Tibetan monk who has been reincarnated into somebody who is now living goes to this submarine and is controlling the bodies, the zombies of the dead. Their souls are still bound to their corpses, and he's controlling them. And he has these people basically their prisoner. And one of them somewhere had gotten their hands on an old German Luger, but they couldn't use it. They couldn't get to a place where they could use it or something like that. It's been a while since I've read it. And they passed it off to a dead Nazi naval officer, the zombie, who then shot the monk in the back of the head and stopped the whole thing. But the scene was uber creepy and very strange. And it was definitely horrific in its own way to imagine, the souls of the damned being brought back into their 70-year-old bodies, their mummies, and forced to work to bring the sub back to life.
That's essentially what the Pirates of the Caribbean did with one of the movies, right? Is the crew's all dead, but they're tied to the ship?
That was standard lore on Barbossa's.
Yeah, Barbossa.
Yeah, on Barbossa's ship.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Yeah, there's a whole really interesting mythos behind all that.
JR asks why were the sailors evil and damned? Probably because they were part of the Nazi elite, I would imagine, would be...
They pissed off the wrong person.
Evil part. The damned part would be their souls were bound to their corpses. So that's pretty damned.
Brett says, why does so many horror movies have that false ending? Are you saying the thing is a false ending? Because you do realize that could be another 15,000 words and you still wouldn't be happy with it. Or 15,000 words. Another 15 minutes long in the movie. God. How do you make an inclusive ending that nonetheless satisfies the reader?
Refer back to the thing.
Refer back to the thing. There's, a lot of books, not just horror or thriller or anything else, mystery. If it's meant to possibly have a way in for a sequel, they're going to leave something dangling, and the ending itself can be that piece that's just not complete. But the story needs to be satisfied, right? Smile has that inconclusive ending. But you know what? It's not at all inconclusive if you think about it. And those stories are really good to look at as examples of where it's done right. Dagger magic? Okay. Never heard of it.
I love this series. It ran on for like 6 books, and I was pretty pleased with it the whole way through. Let me read the back of this here. Deep within a sea cave, sacred texts of the black arts have been recovered from the corroded hulk of a World War II German submarine. Within these pages lie the power to spawn a new demonic Third Reich and make Aryan world conquest a terrifying reality. Now they rest in the hands of the Purba, a vile dagger cult older than Christianity itself. So tell me that's not, horror right there.
It's crap. It's for me to poop on.
It's crap, I tell ya.
It's garbage. It's garbage. Oh, that reminds me. Have you ever heard of Red versus Dead?
No.
Okay, I think it's Norwegian or Swedish. I don't remember which. Please don't crucify me. But it's about these skiers that go up and they find this Nazi gold up in the mountains, and they accidentally call up the Nazi commander who stole the gold, and so he raises all of the soldiers up, and they basically have to deal with what the skiers have to kill them. The second one has the Russian soldiers get, basically they have to reanimate the Russian soldiers to fight off the Nazi zombies. So basically it's zombies versus zombies, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But there's a couple of scenes where this guy is just beating the shit out of this zombie, and they keep coming back to it, and the zombie is eroding each time they show this zombie, and this guy's just beating the shit out of it. And it is so gratuitously violent that I could do nothing but laugh. Because it is so egregious it became a comic book. Because you get so desensitized to it. Which I think is part of the point. It was basically talking about that gore. And then the guy, reversing the snowmobile so he can get the zombie into the chains and basically kind of lawnmower. It was good stuff. Jar says, do you think they will ever use some of the modern evil the way they use the WW2 Evil Reich?
One of the problems with modern evil is you don't find the kind of global condemnation that the Nazis had versus everybody else. I'm not going to say that modern evil is more nuanced, but people are more willing to overlook the flaws of whatever their beliefs are as long as it suits their ends. So it may be impossible to have somebody that is universally reviled like the Nazis were.
At least in your own lifetime.
Yeah, at least
because
that.
Until there's like you said, until there's a consensus as to this is absolutely evil, and those who are still holding on to that group saying, "Oh, but really, that's just our opinion. This is how we're acting. This is how our lifestyle." Then yeah.
But you also got to remember the Nazis are special too because they had that occult angle. I mean, from everything I've read, that is real. That is an established fact that they were fucking around with that shit.
Yes.
I can't think of any other regime in history that has dared to fuck with that kind of shit. God.
My wife was watching something about World War II, and they had one of the German planes landing somewhere, and it was the exact same one from the Raiders of the Lost Ark movie where he was fighting the Nazis on it. And I'm like, oh my God, I could absolutely see him on top of that plane right now beating somebody with that.
That was a great, that's a great image. I love that fight. That's one of my favorite parts of Raiders is that fight.
It was a great scene.
It's an awesome scene. Oh yeah, Idi Amin. Yeah. Idi Amin, that's a good one.
To be fair, Harrison Ford has kind of made part of his shtick telling people to get off his plane or get off somebody's plane because he needs it.
Air Force One.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Liam Neeson. He's only going to be remembered for his daughter constantly getting stolen from him because he just can't hang on to her. I mean, God.
Well, he's not the worst. Come on, think about this. Think about Jack Bauer in 24. How many times was his daughter kidnapped in a 24-hour period?
How many times was his
4, 5?
How many times was his lover killed? I mean, that happened like every time. What the hell is going on? The guy just can't protect his daughter. He can't protect his wife. Can't protect shit. Yeah, he's the hero. Ah.
Now, I want to go ahead and comment on this. I've read all but the most recent few of the Laundry Files books. They're excellent. And I was impressed at how he rolled remnant Nazis and ancient evil into that. That was actually really well done.
Yeah, that's another thing. Pol Pot.
We need more Nazis, damn it.
We need more Nazis. Hey, Santa Clarita, it had it coming. I mean, let's be honest. I don't even know where the fuck that is.
All right, now, if you had to pick one place inside the continental United States to be nuked, what would it be? I'll put myself
Texas
out
State
front.
Capitol building.
I would put myself out front
while they're in
say,
session.
Washington, D.C. That would do the best to this country ever.
No.
I know too many people who live around there. I'd be upset.
Plus, you just do not understand chaos, do you?
We all have our points of view. If I had to pick one place, I think the place in the United States I could miss the least would be Washington, D.C.
I love Washington, D.C. It has plenty of fantastic museums. Why would you destroy that history? What's wrong with you?
Museums, all the corrupt politicians.
Oh, well, you're going to have to blast more than them. Like I said, start with the states. You'll get there eventually. Anyway,
Well, I am trying to behave, and you are not making it easy.
Are you blaming me for this? I didn't say shit. Anyway, maybe you spelled it differently. Jesus Christ. All right. Stop. Calm down, chat.
Boy, I apparently riled them up a little bit.
You did. Just third rails, man. Just stay the fuck away from those third rails.
Antoine is saying Charles Strauss is great. He did a series of books called, I think it was The Family Business, where they could travel from one universe to another. There was magic involved. I love those. There's like 6 books in that series, and they were pretty good.
Yeah, I still have that on my list of books Terry has recommended that I haven't read. Believe it or not. I came across that list today and looked at it and went, it's not getting shorter. Shit.
It's never going to get shorter. Ever going to get shorter.
I'm reading Lovecraft Country right now, and I haven't seen the series, but the book is quite good.
My wife watched some of the series, and she said it was great.
Yes, it's amazing. The soundtrack for the series is magnificent. But the actors in the series, I mean, it is a crime that did not get picked up for more episodes. It was so good.
Well, I'm enjoying the book. I can't speak to any of the things that were going on from a white writer trying to write about Black America. I can't really speak to that, but I'm enjoying the story and the idea of it and how everything's kind of mixed together. It's really interesting stuff.
Cal is seconding my motion on that one.
World Walkers?
Yeah, that's the series that I was recommending to you. Is The Merchant Families is the series title, I think. And they're world walkers. They can walk from one reality to another. It's definitely a unique sort of thing. The first time I read it was the first time I'd read that kind of thing done that way, where somebody could get pulled into this unexpectedly and have to deal with all of the consequences thereof. And some of the consequences is pretty awful.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from there being some awful consequences.
Seems to me if you were doing that kind of stuff, how would you keep everything straight?
As far as?
Well, if you're crossing over like you're talking about these states of dimensions or whatever you want to call them, how do you keep everything straight in your head?
Well, these world walkers were really only aware of our world and their world. So it was pretty straightforward. They may have been aware of a third world. I'm not sure, one that was unoccupied by people. But they were only aware of just a very few of them. And their world was mostly semi-feudal, though they picked up some technology from our world. And they were basically making money by acting as drug mules. They would pick up drugs in our world in South or Central America and then walk in their world where they have complete control into the middle of the United States and then deliver them without any chance of being caught.
How old is this book?
Less than a decade-ish, maybe?
It's interesting. There's a scene in Drawing of the Three by Stephen King where there's a portal and they're hiding this guy's cocaine in the portal. And I keep thinking what happens to somebody who's never had coca in any fashion, shape, or form coming across an entire brick of cocaine, uncut cocaine. And I have a feeling it's not going to end well for anybody. Or maybe it's heroin. I can't remember.
Now, one of the things that I thought was pretty damn interesting was they used their ability to do world walking to get into where the United States kept some of its portable nukes and take them without anyone realizing they had them. And that's where consequences came in.
The rule of unintended consequences?
Oh, they thought they could get away with things, so they blew up something here in our world. And the United States found out about them, and then the war was on.
So basically it's Stargate. They're throwing lobbing, weapons through the Stargate at one another?
Sort of. Now, if you want to talk horror, they would capture world walkers in the United States and basically extract their brains and use the tissue from it to create like an artificial world walker. It's horror stuff. Charles Stross did not shy away from some very horrific angles.
Good for him. Good for him. The good guys do some really bad, twisted shit.
Yeah.
If there are good guys in it.
Well, that's the thing is, are there really any good guys in this? The heroine in this is a good guy. Everybody else, there are a lot of shades there. What can you say?
That is absolutely nuts. I like that though. That's a good conceit. That's a really good conceit. So the latest stuff that I've seen, like for creepiness, I can recommend The Empty Man, as well as Lovecraft Country. But The Empty Man, your mileage may vary. I really enjoyed it. I think there were some people who didn't like it nearly as much as I did or get as much out of it. But I really like that. The soundtrack is killer on top of it. So 'tis the season for spookiness. And The Thing is on streaming, so go get it. Even she's not all that good.
It's true. It's true. You're not going to find, anything but shades of gray in that novel.
The
or
latest
that series, yeah.
latest Netflix series called Bodies, which has a lot of horror elements to it, has that same kind of thing where not all the characters are good people. Some of them are pretty fucking awful people, and yet you end up having to root for them anyway. So
they're not as evil as the most evil person.
Correct. Or that they're struggling for redemption. So they have a redemption arc of some kind, and that's what makes it work. I mean, that's what really makes it work for me is, unless the character is supposed to be an anti-hero, then there's going to have to be some kind of arc there of some sort. The Merchant's War. Okay.
Picture feudalistic people with machine guns and people on paragliders. That should tell you everything you need to know right there.
Okay.
Wow, the drugs of that era. Holy cow.
You asked what it was written. Let me look and see what the copyright date on this was. This is book 4 in the series, so let's see what it was. Looks like this was printed in 2007. So it probably, with the first book, probably came out early 2000s.
Paragliders are clearly evil. Well, you said it, not me. I didn't say it. What do you think, chat? What are some of your faves?
Mm-hmm.
Since I'm stuck here with two people that don't do shit. Don't watch shit.
We've got better things to do than do that horror crap.
It's just, now that we've been talking about it, I realize that there's a lot of stuff that I watch that has horror elements, but it's not necessarily like straight up like visceral. Like Theater of Cruelty, that's like psychological horror. I can probably quote Heathers backwards and forwards. I would love that movie.
It's a horror comedy. It's a black comedy. When they say black comedy, that's really what they're talking about. It's a mixture of just awful, horrible stuff. People doing ridiculously nasty shit in a funny way.
Yes, and it's terrible, and it does not hold up well 30 years later. So not, but yeah. And then, like you said, Sweeney Todd. I was looking at some of my other graphic novels I have, and one of my absolute favorites is Chew, which is gross and nasty. And I mean, there's like, you've got someone with his mouth full of person trying to taste what happened in the crime scene 3 hours ago. But I sit there and I go, this is brilliant, not ew. But clearly comedy horror. And then I'm thinking like other stuff that I enjoyed watching. Resident Evil. Well, yeah, that probably falls into horror. Playing through games like Diablo. Yeah, that's probably horror if we think about it. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, once you understand what it's supposed to be in the elements, like, oh yeah, I do watch that. Yeah, I do read that. Huh. And to be fair, And I know Rick pointed, it's like, do you have are those books behind you just for show? Yes, I prepped because I'm married to someone who loves reading horror and who loves reading thrillers. And so I asked him what his favorite ones, and his favorite is It.
Mm.
And then he's like, he looked at me and goes, "You've read The Stand, haven't you?" Fun fact, The Stand is the original Stand is the first movie that the Mighty Ginger and I saw together.
The
Because
miniseries.
we rented it. Yeah, because we rented it from Blockbuster. It was 4 VHS tapes back in the day. And we watched it straight through on Labor Day weekend. So I went and read it. But yeah, so Scream.
Ringu and Prince of Darkness. I have to say, Prince of Darkness, out of those three, is the best of the sci-fi components, and Prince of Darkness is just a creepy fucking movie. If you're at all religious or believe in anything spiritual, it will fuck you up. It's good shit. It's a great movie. Great movie. JR asks, how do you rate sequels in sci-fi horror? How do you top the levels of dread, fear for future books without jumping the shark?
Paul doesn't get that way. He just kills off everybody.
I think you have to be kind of careful. I've tried as much as possible to give M2 new things it can do every time. So that's how I've handled making the monster scarier in every book and putting it in a different environment every time and having us know more things about it and then giving it a chance to do something new and evolve. And it's literally a creature that evolves. So I'm cheating as much as possible, and I'm glad to cheat all the way through 6 books. And trust me, I'm going to be very close to jumping the shark with book 6, and I have no problem with it. The trick is keeping the suspense going. Your trick is keeping the characters who are fighting this thing or being chased by this thing or encountering this thing, keep them in peril. It's not about the monster, it's about the people. It always is. The monster can be cool, the monster can do great things, but without characters as foils, it's just a monster doing shit. And it's not scary at all. So there's just you have to kind of be careful about how you lay things out. And I think it's also why, if you look at it, Aliens, the reason why it was so successful is it had Alien, which established the creature, established the horror, and then Aliens took it and made it action, right? So they took it from being a serial killer movie into basically making it into a military movie, is what they did. And then they just kept adding to it, but essentially it's just an action-adventure film. Just. Don't get me wrong, I love that film. But that's how they did it, carried off. And then Alien 3, they took it back to a bottle story. They just widened the number of people in the bottle. And let's not even talk about Alien 4. Let's not talk about it. But your point is well taken. It does make it more difficult each time to do it, which is why some of us want to bow out before we bore the shit out of you. Matt says horror games in VR are a whole other thing, even psychological horror. Richie's Plank experience messes with you even when you know there's actually a floor there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very true. There's a point where your brain gets confused about what you're seeing and you get the vertigo because your brain believes you are in peril. You are standing on a plank that is 6 inches wide and you are going to topple over at any second, even though you are on terra firma. And my hope is, as a writer, is to make you feel that with a written word. That's my goal. And it takes a lot of practice to do, and I don't know if I ever achieve it, but I like to think that I'm getting close sometimes. So we'll see. Brett says most horror stories are terrible after movie number 1.
Most movies at all are worse in the series after movie number 1.
Yeah.
Unless you are planning for sequels and you know exactly where you're starting with that protagonist and your big bad and how you're going to ramp those things up, you can't have arcs as afterthoughts. And I think that's what a lot of sequels wind up doing. They see the money and they're like, ooh, we want more of this. Hey, pick this idea up. Shit.
That's why, I mean, I could write a sequel to an ancient trap. I don't think I'm going to, because I like the way it ends. But I could. But it would lose a lot in the process. I would have to really change it up to not bore the shit out of people. So, we have babbled for an hour, folks, which means it's probably time to bring this to an end. Probably. Terry, do you have any other
12 to 13 viewers? This is like successful and stuff.
something like that?
Yeah.
Do you have any other favorite horror movies that you can think of, Terry?
No, because I don't pursue them. So I am definitely not the target audience.
You're not the target audience. How dare you? You know, I love it when you try and log in to do something and it says, hey, this is not available. Then why are you letting me look at it? I don't know. If you've got a comment or rant about anything we talked about in this show, you can send an email to show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can find me at Mastodon at Paul_E_Cooley at VYRSE.social. You can find us on Facebook at the Help. What's the new group? Help.
Hang on.
Help.
The Dead Robot Society writing community.
The Dead Robot Society writing community. Wow. Whew. I'm going to have to get used to doing that one. Where actually, I guess all three of us mangle the madness now. That's kind of terrifying. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast to see our amazing countenances and way too many cats that speak into the microphone from Terry's end because his cats do not know how to shut up. And if you want to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast and buy me at coffee.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive live shows like the one we are about to do in 10 minutes. And at the $10 level, you get your at the $10 level, you get your patron read. At the $10 level, you get your name read, and our $10 patrons are Tony L. Joy, Lisa Slag, Isabel Cushy, and Tim Niederreiter. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible. And on that note, we are going to get the hell out of here. So, keep it spooky. Go find a good movie. If you haven't seen Smile, go watch Smile. I'm telling you, best ending ever. Best goddamn ending ever. Anyway, yeah, we'll see y'all in 10. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for joining us. There will be no show next week unless I get scrappy and bring on a guest.
It's
next weekend, isn't it?
We'll be here Saturday.
Yeah, I don't fly out Sunday.
We don't fly out till Sunday.
Okay,
so the week after.
Week after. All right. Well, fine. I'm wrong. I'll be here next week. They'll be here next week. This week after that, I may have to, scrounge from the bottom of the barrel of people and see who I can cajole to come on the show.
Oh, you could just go ahead and make J.R. Hanley's day and bring him on so you could just slap him around in public.
I was about to say, I'll be back by Saturday.
Oh, you'll be back by Saturday.
Yeah,
I won't be.
I'm cheap.
Because you're cheap. Look, you should not make that statement in this crowd, all right? It will never get taken well.
Well, actually, when you look at it that way, we're flying out Sunday and we arrive back on we arrive back on Saturday. So, yeah, I won't be there, but V can help keep you under control.
Uh-huh. We'll see who else we can get into the third chair that she can annoy and hound.
Oh, I won't be third chair anymore. Ooh.
You're getting a promotion. God help you. All right, folks, have a great Halloween and have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you next week. Have good.
Bye.
We're out of here.